benchmark the crag and your pelvic floor. You may be like, why are we talking about this? This is weird, but benchmark the crag and your pelvic floor. So the reason that we're talking about this is because I want you to understand how different of a stimulus going to the crag is for your pelvic floor, for your core, than just going to the gym and doing a workout. You may be surprised after you go to the crag for the first time, or you're out for a day of sport climbing or bouldering, and you come home and you're like, oh man, like I am having some pelvic floor symptoms that I'm not used to having, or my hips are hurting a little bit more than they're used to, or my low back is feeling tweaky, and we need to understand why, okay? Let's paint a picture. You're going to the crag. You may be carrying a crash pad. You may be carrying a baby in a carrier. You may be carrying a rope bag with gear, draws, and you're also hiking up to the crag, or you're walking over a whole bunch of uneven terrain. And that's just to start the day. So then while you're at the crag, you're climbing, you may be moving from spot to spot if you're changing areas. You are dealing with wrestling, feeding, all the other things for baby all day long. And that is on top of climbing, okay? So think about your activity on that day as a whole. There is a massive amount of demand on your pelvic floor, on your core, just from the sheer amount of activity, of load that you have in that one day, versus when you go to the gym for a session, you might be there for 1 hour or 2 hours maybe, but you're probably certainly not hiking up to the gym with a crash pad or a baby in a carrier for, an hour hike, or all of the other gear that comes along with a full day of climbing outside. So make sure that you just kind of are aware of that. I'm not saying you need to do anything special before you go to the crag, but sometimes awareness is our greatest power. So if you are struggling with pelvic floor symptoms such as feelings of prolapse, or you know that you are still having some incontinence, or you've got lower back pain, or your hips start to hurt a little bit more after the day, then just thinking about what you did as a whole instead of wondering what in the world is going on can be super helpful. So if you do start to experience some of those things, you can definitely contact me and I can kind of help walk you through some different things that we can do, but also just knowing, hey, like that was a big ask of my pelvic floor. That was a big ask of my hips, of my core, to do all of that in one day can be really helpful and help you feel a little bit less discouraged if you were to experience any of those symptoms after your first full day at the crag. So anyway, hopefully that was helpful, and that's all for now.